You're listening to the Happy Doc Student Podcast, a podcast dedicated to providing clarity to the often mysterious doctoral process. Do you feel like you're losing your mind? Let me and my guests show you how to put more joy in your journey and graduate with your sanity, health, and relationships intact. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Frederick, and today I'm chatting with Derick Johnson. Derick is an Army veteran who was awarded Soldier of the Year for his battalion 3 times. He has combined his life experiences, leadership skills, and certifications to create a method that helps people take control of their mind and body so they can move from just surviving to thriving. As a life coach and trainer, he has helped over 500 clients and 50 companies do just that, and I'm so thrilled to have him here with me today. Derick, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Heather.
Why don't we start by you spending a few minutes explaining to the audience how you got to where you are today?
So I grew up as a child in Germany. My mother's German and my father is African-American. He was U.S. Army. So my mother's been a Montessori school teacher for 40 plus years. I didn't personally go to Montessori, but I had that structure from my mother. And then my father was Army. So at home was discipline, structure, education. So it was just go, go, go. We don't have time for emotions. You just got to get things done. And so discipline, structure, and the speed of which we could complete things was just instilled in it. And so I realized when I got older that it was a cheat code in regards to sports, school, stress management, etc. So growing up in that environment really helped a lot. And in middle school and earlier, I was that shy kid, skinny, was bullied, was going through a lot of personal things with family and in school. And we just moved out of Germany to the United States. And every European, before we moved to the United States, we love watching American high school movies and shows. And we just generally wonder, is it really like that? And so I got the reality check that, yes, it's exactly like that. So I was literally getting dumped into the trash can, just getting bullied. And I was like, this is overwhelming. I'm not used to this. And so essentially my step one into personal development was fitness. So I had to change my physicality because I was a skinny kid, was insecure, had bad posture, had a stuttering issue, and was just not this person that I am today. And so I had to elevate myself because I got tired of getting just bullied and beat up all the time. And the same thing with at home, family was like, hey, you need to make a change. And so that led me, by the age of 15, really getting deep into fitness, more so training and performance. And then from there, I got into the Army in college. So I did Army ROTC. And throughout the Army, I was also a U.S. Army Master Fitness Trainer that essentially helps soldiers, male and female, get mission ready. So if they're having personal issues, divorce, drinking issues, anything of that nature, making sure that we can get rid of those things so they're always mission ready, whether that's deployment for their personal career, for their military career, or just to be a better parent, friend, brother, sister, whoever they are to others. And so big picture, it started with fitness for performance and physique. And then I really fell in love with helping people rewire their way of thinking. And so now I specialize in breaking people's old patterns so they can feel like they're thriving and not just surviving. So we pull out of the closet those topics that they really don't want to talk about. I'm like, hey, you feel the way you feel because you keep avoiding this thing. We're going to speak about it once or twice, but then focus on solutions. So nowadays, that's what I do. I help people with the mind-body connection so they feel that they have a grasp of everything. So they're not only good at school and they're lacking their mental health, or they're not only working on mental health and they're lacking their physical health. So I just teach them natural ways that they can have control of everything to say, all right, I'm in control. I'm not overly stressed out from this, or that. And I feel like I can show up as my best version.
So, Derick, as you were talking, I was thinking probably all the listeners are saying, oh my gosh, tell me more. Okay. I am a stressed out doctoral student. I do feel like I'm just surviving. What are the first things that you do to take someone who just feels like they're barely treading water to find that balance where their body and their mind are aligned and they do feel like they're bringing their best self to their life?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing that I do, I challenge them to grab a sheet of paper and a notebook. Many people, we just use apps and programs and OneNote, so just write it on paper. But the first step would be to create an eliminate sheet. And what the eliminate sheet is, you essentially just ask yourself, what is something that I could get rid of or replace with something better that'll help me make more progress? And it seems very straightforward, but the more that we dig into it, they start to have aha moments. So it starts with, what do we eat? Maybe she has too much sugar and she's like, hey, by 2:00, I have anxiety. So maybe I should start to wind down on some of the sugar. Maybe this gentleman, he eats too much of this kind of food. So we start with what we first physically consume, what we eat and what we drink, and to say, is there anything that you could eliminate that'll help you make more progress? Like, maybe this, maybe that, and say, okay, next up is our phone. What app do you predominantly use? Who do you follow and what do you follow? Is it news media? Is it negativity? Is it adopting dog videos and like you're sad at 7 a.m. eating breakfast? Like, why am I so emotional? So I take all these things into account. So we start with food and then what they do digitally, to just ask themselves, is there anything that you can eliminate in that process or in that mindless scrolling that will help you? Because sometimes what we look at 6 or 7 a.m. on Facebook or Instagram can dictate how we feel by 2 p.m. We're like, why am I so sad today? Oh yeah, I was watching adoption videos at 6. So let me not follow these pages anymore and just mindfully control that to say, you know what, it's Friday. Let me check that page out, but I'm not just going to follow it so it pops up. So these are all just examples. So food related, digital related. And on top of that is music. Like many people, they love Taylor Swift. Many people love other artists, but sometimes the majority of the songs could be sad and could affect that person mentally. And they just don't realize it because they're always singing this song and they're always doing this and they're eating this. And they're like, why do I feel so drained? And we really just pinpoint those small things that are subtle, but those subtle things usually happen on a daily basis. So once they really start to have clarity and they write those things out, that is when they get clear and they say, you know what? I want to eliminate intrusive thoughts, procrastination, pushing things off. And then all the real things start to come to them once we've covered the basics. But we treat it like a game because once they start writing it out, they have clarity. Number one, they have control. And then we reverse engineer and say, okay, we're not saying you have to cut out sugar completely, but let's go to Starbucks 3 days a week instead of 7. Or let's use this instead of that creamer. And we just slowly start to weed it back. So we're not trying to go cold turkey on everything, but more so give them clarity, control, and then they can have fun with it to say, you know what, today, as we're recording this, it's a Friday. So maybe Friday is their day to have that pizza night, pizza and movies with their husband or wife. And they get to enjoy it where they're not in their head all week or Saturday morning, like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten this. And we don't want that bad relationship with things that they actually enjoy. So from the bird's eye view, the step one is always first to really ask yourself, what could we eliminate or replace with something better that'll help them make more progress? And from there, then we can go deeper. But that right there is a game changer and always the step one that I recommend people take when they do personal development, opposed to adding to the routine, changing the schedule. When they're already studying 4 hours, they're already getting prepared for this exam. They're like, I can't add anything. So taking a step back, taking a breather to say, okay, what can we actually take away or do less of? And that feels amazing. Last but not least is also clutter. Maybe it's physical clutter with dishes. Maybe next to them, 5 feet next to them, as they're listening to this, there's a pile of laundry they've been looking at for 3 days. And they're stressed. They're like, well, I need to study because this laundry is going to take me a while. And then they go in their car. Maybe they haven't cleaned their car in months. Maybe their cup holder is sticky. And they're just like, I have all these unfinished projects, but my most important thing right now is school. Like I can't deep clean my car, do my laundry and do X, Y, Z. So we break down a process of how can you get that thing done or those things done the fastest? Maybe take your car somewhere and then study while they're doing that. Maybe do this. Maybe depending on what city they're in, nowadays you can get a maid to come over pretty cheap for an hour and they can clean like none other. And they just invested in themselves to say, okay, this does cost, but what is the mental benefit that I get? So just looking at the bird's eye view to really pinpoint what that individual's list is, and then reverse engineering some solutions. And the whole intent is for them to have more physical and mental control so their energy can go to studying, to any other productivity thing that they want to do. And they just feel like, all right, this week I feel much better. I'm not drained and getting pulled in all directions because I've done X, Y, and Z.
Derick, I love this paradigm of elimination, and I hope all the listeners have a piece of paper out and they're jotting down some ideas right now, because many of my guests come on with amazing tips and techniques, but they are something that you kind of add to your schedule. So you're kind of flipping the script and saying, hey, let's start with what can we get rid of? And right when you said that, I almost felt lighter. Like, oh,
wait. You're like, wait. I thought we're adding to it. I thought he's going to tell me to wake up at 5 and run a mile and go military and all this. But yeah, it's very interesting what happens. Like that psychological shift that you can feel getting rid of stuff. Because everybody can relate to donating a black trash bag of clothes or throwing it away. And you literally just feel lighter. You're like, what just happened? Physically, spiritually, you're like, am I crying in my car? What just happened? What did we get rid of? So the power in that is so underrated because people are very busy and they just have so many unnecessary things around them that if they just let go of some things that hold no value to them, or I like to go deep with some clients and say, how many outfits are in your closet that you had in a previous relationship that was toxic? And they're like, huh? I was like, no, think about it. How many Facebook memories pop up where you're wearing an outfit that is still in your closet from low and stressed time periods in your life? And they're like, probably about 4. I said, all right, I challenge you. You don't have to do this, but I recommend you get rid of those things. You could sell it. You could donate it. You could throw it away, whatever option you want to choose, and just see how you feel for the next 2 days. Every single time they get rid of these things, they're just like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much energy was stuck on that outfit. Because every day when I grab my jacket for work, or my scrubs or my shoes, I have to look at this thing and I kind of have a millisecond moment where I think of said situation and scenario. And so getting rid of those things has so much power as well.
I love that you brought up energy. I'm a huge fan of acknowledging that we are energy, that energy impacts us. So just like the clutter that you brought up, everyone listening to this podcast is becoming or is an expert in something already.
Yes.
Why not outsource these things that are clutter, that are weighing you down energetically to an expert? It's an investment. So yes, is it going to cost you? Sometimes nowadays you can barter, but it is an investment in terms of reducing your stress so that you can be focused and you can perform optimally.
Oh, yes. 100%. And I like to break it down also in regards to time. How much time has gone by since he or she did not complete said task? So let's just say it is physical clutter. You say, okay, how many days or weeks have you had that around you? I'd say 3 weeks. Okay. On average, how long would that take you? It'll take about an hour. All right. So 3 weeks of stress, anger, annoyance, whatever negative connotation or emotion they have, 3 weeks of that for 1 hour of a project. Okay. Do you have that hour? Not right now. Okay. Well, what zip code are you in? Let's go to Google and let's find local professional cleaner and let's just see what the average pricing is. And then we literally break it down to say they can come do it in 30 minutes, which is only going to cost this. So for 3 weeks, you felt like this. And then they just have an aha moment. They're just like, holy, I could pay $50 and just have this solution and I'll be set for a couple weeks. And so I just love reverse engineering things where when you see how overwhelmed and stressed someone is, it's usually always an outside factor. There's things around them, people, clutter, whatever it is. But once they can take control of that, as you mentioned, they just feel way better. Why don't we outsource these things? But I love those moments because it's so straightforward. And people sometimes, especially if they're studying, they're trying to look at it too deep. They're overanalyzing it. And I'm like, just do that. Just try it and see how you feel. They're like, I feel amazing. Sometimes we don't have to think too deep on things. We just got to get it done.
And along with outsourcing through a paid company or paid person, listeners, you may also take an opportunity to draw on your network. They want to support you. They see that you're stressed. They want to help you. They probably can't help you with your academic work, right? But they could help you with the dishes or organizing or cleaning your car. So I'm curious, Derick, how do you bring in people's support systems to help them find balance in life?
Yeah, great question. So I always recommend that people get their team, their family, their spouses, whoever's in their environment and whoever has their back, get them involved and let them know. For example, as we're recording this, it's April. So it's the beginning of April and just let your friends know what your goals are. Hey, this month I have 5 exams. This month I want to lose 5 pounds. This month I'm working on this. What are you working on? And we kind of have that accountability camaraderie. And somebody doesn't have to hire a coach, a trainer, or whoever. It's just more so a competitive standpoint with the people around them. And so when that day or week does come that it's exam week and he or she's not social, like, hey, I'll let you know that I have X, Y, Z. And like, hey, understandable. Nobody takes it personal. Nobody's offended. Nobody thinks, oh, she doesn't want to hang out with us, vice versa, whatever the case may be. But getting your people involved helps so much, because I've noticed that is a common thread in nowadays generation is people, they say, well, I don't want to let them know about this because I don't want to come across as the Debbie Downer or negative Nancy or whatever they want to call it. But they just got to zoom out and say, you know what? We understand why you feel that way, but you're so stressed because you haven't slept well. You've been studying 5 hours a day and you're working 2 jobs, and maybe you have kids and pets, and maybe you have a hobby, and maybe you help out at the church. So it's totally understandable that you would think you're going to add something negative to their plate, but you're not. You're just very stressed and drained. So just get your people involved, but that can help a ton before they get any strangers involved. It's just let the people that they love and that love them, let them know what they're working on. They help them and vice versa. And then sometimes they can say, you know what? I'm off Tuesdays. I can come help you organize while you go to the library. And next thing you know, your friends offer to help you with that solution, or you can help them. But it's always a win-win, because it just feels like I'm not alone. I'm not the only one stressed, and people can actually understand me. Because honestly, big picture, at the end of the day, every human, we just want 2 things. We want to be heard and understood. Yes, we want vacations. Yes, we want love and success, et cetera, but deep down, we just want to be heard and understood, because our inner child. So when we can get people on our team involved in what we do, we essentially give our inner child a fist bump, and we're like, hey, you feel heard and understood. This is awesome. I'm helping them, and it's a win-win for everyone. But that's definitely a suggestion that I have.
Really, it comes down to communicating, right? If you want to be heard and understood, you need to say something so that people meet you part way. One theme that emerges in the doctoral literature is that doctoral programs feel isolating. People feel very alone. And it is so important. There's research that suggests when you don't feel alone, you're more likely to finish and more likely to finish on time. So this idea of coming together and saying, hey guys, here's what's going on with me, but then also listening what's going on with your network so that they can understand when you have to bow out of that happy hour. You know, Heather told me this is her month where she's working on her chapter 2, and it's going to be more time consuming than what was going on last month. So maybe I'll offer to walk her dog.
Exactly. 100%. And another thing would be if somebody is on their fitness journey, let's just say they're a student. Most students, if they're close to the campus, they would have access to the gyms, and then you have free classes. So if you go to your free boot camp class, yoga, Pilates, whatever that person is into, just even that camaraderie, they look forward to that Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. That is their mental outlet. They don't talk about whatever's going on, but afterwards they're just like laughing because they just release the endorphins. So sometimes from a fitness standpoint, just joining those classes. And if you're a student, most would have access to free classes. And so that gives you the endorphin, camaraderie with people. And most importantly, you just feel better afterwards. And you're like, all right, I don't have to go to the local CrossFit gym, pay X amount, 100 per month, and you don't have to add to it. So just utilize what you already have. And especially if you haven't tried it out. Maybe there's somebody that's listening that's like, you know what? My gym only has Zumba classes. Maybe you want to try your first Zumba class and you're like, no, I'm going to look awkward. I'm going to be weird. Maybe it's somebody else's first time in there too. But I guarantee if they go to the class, they're just going to be laughing the whole time because the little old lady is just going to be moving her feet so quick and they're going to tap out of whatever they're stressed in. They're like, I didn't realize the Zumba class is what I needed. So maybe the Zumba class is something that you want to try out.
You know, a little plug for Zumba. Listen, just stand in the back row. It will be, like you said, one of the most enjoyable fitness experiences that you've had. I don't care who you are or Definitely. How you move your body. But Derick, this brings up how important moving the body is in terms of dealing with stress.
Yes, definitely. So in regards to morning routine, I'm a huge component for morning routines. So I would highly recommend that people just choose 2 things for their morning routine. One would be something physically. So maybe it's a walk. They walk their dog. Maybe she's a runner. Maybe they love weightlifting, whatever option they want to choose, boxing class. But if they start to just add it into the routine, minimum 4 days a week, waking up at the same time, and then working out at the same time, they will start to feel how much more control they have because their circadian rhythm, their internal clock is just expecting the run, expecting the water intake, expecting whatever's going to elevate them. And so if they do that like clockwork, because they already do it with the studying and everything else, maybe that's the missing piece that they need. They're like, I have all this structure here, but I work out once a week, or every other Tuesday I do this. And then sometimes I might go to the night class and sometimes the morning class. So with that, I highly recommend having the same wake up time and then working out at the same time and choosing whatever you want. The things to do in the morning routine is two things, one for the body and one for the mind. For the mind, it might be journaling, writing in a diary, praying, visualizing, meditation, whatever somebody likes most or whatever's most effective for them. But if they just choose one thing for movement, one thing for mental, and then start their day, guarantee you they will feel much more in control before all the pressure comes on from clinicals and everything else that they're doing with school, maybe even with their profession, because some are working and they're studying. They're like, I don't have time for anything. So just adding those things into it. And last but not least would just be a reminder that it does not have to be a totally intense workout every single time. It could literally just be a walk with the dog around the block and then come home and pray or meditate. And they're like, I feel so much more in control in the class. I'm not on edge. I'm not as stressed, but having that good balance of both is going to be very effective because we've all have had a good workout. And afterwards, ideas were flowing. People's names came to our mind. We studied better. We really didn't have test or exam anxiety that day. So really just capitalizing on that morning routine.
We know research shows the cognitive breaks are so important for insight in terms of creative breakthroughs and problem solving. And my favorite cognitive break has always been movement. And I think everyone listening to this can think of a time when they've had a routine, where they've been working out, where they've taken even just a few minutes for themselves in the morning and experienced life flowing better. So I am always big in reminding doctoral students, when you do something like a 10-minute walk and a 5-minute meditation in the morning, count it as working on your program because it's setting you up for being your best selves.
Exactly. I love that because making that morning routine proactive, they don't feel like they're getting pulled in all directions once the day actually starts and everybody needs them. But they're like, I haven't even had 5 minutes to myself. I haven't even had my coffee. Now she wants me to perform or they want me to study. So just making sure that we start the day off proactive is a game changer.
Yeah, I know there are days where, for whatever reason, I have to skip my morning routine and midday comes and I'm like, why do I feel like this?
Oh, yeah.
It was that morning routine that didn't allow me to enter the day with ease and grace and focus, but I hit the ground running and already the day is compressed and you're stressed while you're waiting for your coffee to brew. So listen, if you don't have that morning routine, consider adding one in. Derick, as we're wrapping up this episode, I wonder if you have a favorite quote or some final words of wisdom you want to share with the audience.
Yeah, for sure. So a quote that always stood out to me was, challenge yourself to become the man or woman that you would be proud of and give them to the world. Challenge yourself to become the man or woman that you would be proud of and give them to the world. And however somebody takes it, it might be career related, it might be spiritual related, religious, church, charity, nonprofit, helping animals, kids. But that just always stood out to me because in those days where we're tired, we're drained, but we still show up for our routine, whether that's personal, professional, or mental. And then we do something for somebody else, a kind gesture in public, a genuine compliment in public, whatever it is, donating our time, we realize how much better we feel. One, we're like, hey, I've been in this zone for 2 weeks. That's amazing. Two, I didn't realize making this kid in Target at the line laugh would make my day. Because we've all been on the receiving end of not feeling like talking to anybody. And the little kid, an old lady, somebody spoke to you. You had a moment, you get back in your car and you're like, why am I emotional right now? And you just realize you're overwhelmed from stress and work. And that little 2-minute interaction with a stranger in public just helped you a ton. So I just challenge people to give people more of that, especially when you don't feel like it, because you will feel better giving somebody a genuine compliment in public, even if you don't feel like being verbal that day. Because once you get back to your car, you're like, wow, that lady needed it or that kid needed it. Now you feel better and it's a win-win. So that quote stood out to me. And then also just giving more kind gestures. And the biggest challenge is doing it when you don't feel like it and watch what happens.
So listeners, take up that challenge. Let me know how it goes. And Derick, you gave tips about starting with the network that you already have, that you know and love. But I will be sure to have all the ways that listeners can contact you in the show notes in case they'd like to work with you directly.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Heather. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Until then, if you're looking for more ways to invite joy in your journey, check out the free resources at expandyourhappy.com. You'll find downloads like an article I wrote titled The Doctoral Journey, 12 Things You Need to Know That They Probably Won't Tell You. You'll also find a PDF that organizes all podcasts by the 7 steps detailed in the Happy Doc Student Handbook, which you can also find on the website. Finally, if you're looking for Happy Doc student swag, I've got that too. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, and if you want to make my day, rate and review so that together we can change the way doctoral education is delivered and experienced. Hey, one more thing. Just a quick reminder that the information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only.